Crime Boss Rocky City is one of those games that takes you straight into the action, full throttle, and keeps you hooked with a dash of crime drama that feels like it's been pulled right out of the 90s. If you've ever wanted to team up with a bunch of colorful characters for some heist action, this one definitely has you covered. The whole vibe is about building your criminal empire with a team of talented individuals, some with very familiar faces, helping you carry out all sorts of shady operations. The gameplay really leans into the classic crime genre, but with a twist. It's not just about running in and shooting everything that moves. Strategy is key here. Whether you're trying to sneak around, avoid the law, or just make a daring escape, the game gives you plenty of opportunities to plan and execute your moves. The cool part is, you're never on your own. With cooperative gameplay, you and your crew can team up for some serious heists, making sure you're always ready for whatever the city throws your way. And if you're more of a solo player, the single-player roguelike campaign is packed with challenges that'll keep you coming back for more. What really makes it stand out is the cast of characters. It's like a greatest hits collection of tough guys from your favorite action movies, with familiar faces like Michael Madsen, Chuck Norris, and Danny Trejo showing up to lend their voices and make things feel even more cinematic. It's almost like playing through your own personal action-packed movie with everyone contributing their own unique flair. When you first step into a world full of danger, weird creatures, and factions vying for power, you know you're in for a ride. There's something uniquely exciting about getting dropped into a sprawling open world where you have to figure out how to survive and thrive. And that's exactly what you'll get with Gothic 1 Remake. Right off the bat, the game pulls you into the chaos of Khorinis, where you're left to navigate through some intense decisions. But it's not just the world that's exciting, it's the gameplay. Whether you're getting your hands dirty with combat or building relationships with the different factions, every decision counts. You get to choose what skills you want to develop, which totally changes how you approach the challenges ahead. It's not just about picking a weapon and swinging, it's about being smart with your moves and using what you've got in the best possible way. The combat itself is a blast, smooth and satisfying. It's no longer that clunky old system, but a much more fluid and enjoyable experience. Whether you're taking on a wild creature or a fellow prisoner, each fight feels meaningful. And then there's the progression. Instead of just leveling up and getting stronger, you're customizing your play style, giving you full control over how your character evolves. Want to be a stealthy assassin? You can do that. Prefer magic or brute strength? That's on the table too. What's even better is the world itself. It's alive. Flintlock. The Siege of Dawn is a blast from start to finish, mixing up all the things we love about action-packed games into one wild ride. From swinging an axe to firing flintlock pistols and throwing in some magic on the side, the combat feels like a playground for anyone who loves being in the thick of the action. There's a real rhythm to the fights, where you can go from chopping down enemies with your axe to shooting them from a distance, all while getting help from your trusty companion Enki, who's more than just an extra character. They really add something special to the whole combat dynamic. One of the coolest things about the game is how it balances melee and ranged combat, giving you freedom to mix up your attacks. The fluidity makes it feel like you're always in control, no matter if you're brawling up close or picking enemies off from afar. Enki, your magical sidekick, does a great job of keeping things fresh, adding an extra layer of strategy. Whether it's stunning an enemy so you can land that perfect hit or giving you a little extra boost during a tough fight, they're never just hanging around. Exploration in this game is another major highlight. The world is wide open and packed with secrets. You get the chance to explore a bunch of different regions, each offering its own set of challenges. There are side quests that pull you into the action even more. So it's not just about charging through the main story. You get to interact with NPCs, gather materials, and unlock cool gear that helps make your journey feel even more rewarding. You've probably wondered what it's like to be tiny, right? Imagine being shrunk down to the size of an ant, surrounded by towering trees and insects the size of small monsters. In Small and Survive the Wilds, you get to experience exactly that. It's a survival game where you're thrown into a miniature world that's anything but small in terms of challenges and adventures. What really makes it stand out is how the environment plays such a big role in your survival. Right from the get-go, you realize that the world you're in isn't just some cute little forest. It's a giant, living ecosystem. You're constantly scurrying around to gather resources, craft weapons, and build shelters, but it's the scale of everything that gets to you. You might feel tiny next to the plants and animals, but that's what makes every victory feel like a huge win. Whether you're taking down a pesky beetle or building a treehouse to stay safe, it always feels like you're working against the clock in this dangerous yet beautiful world. Crafting is a huge part of Smalland. It's not just about making basic tools. You're looking for ways to survive against creatures that are way stronger than you. You'll have to gather materials from the environment like sticks and leaves to create everything from simple spears to armor that will protect you in the harsh elements. What's really fun is how you can build your own little base, either on the ground or way up in the trees. Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden is a tactical adventure game that brings together strategy, stealth, and a post-apocalyptic world filled with quirky mutants. You take control of a ragtag crew of mutated animals, each with their own set of abilities as they explore the ruins of the world, solving puzzles, scavenging for supplies, and engaging in intense, turn-based combat. The game stands out by combining real-time exploration with tactical, grid-based combat. Instead of jumping into fights head-on, you're encouraged to scout the environment and take a more stealthy approach. You can sneak around enemies, find the perfect ambush spots, and then hit them where it hurts when the time's right. It's all about picking the right moment to strike and making sure you're not walking into a trap. The challenge comes from figuring out the best way to approach each situation, whether it's avoiding a fight or going all in with a brutal attack. What makes this game even more fun is how you get to build your squad. Each character is unique with their own strengths and abilities, so picking the right team for the job is a big part of the strategy. One character might be great at getting in close and dealing heavy damage, while another might specialize in long-range attacks. Balancing these abilities gives you tons of options for tackling different challenges. Plus, managing resources becomes super important as you explore the zone. Supplies are limited, so being smart about what you carry and how you use them can make or break your success. Imagine being tied to your best friend with a chain, having to navigate a labyrinth of obstacles, traps, and hazards, all while trying to work together in perfect sync. Sounds like a recipe for chaos, right? Well, that's exactly what makes it so fun. In this game, you and your teammates are physically connected by a chain, and every move you make impacts not just you, but everyone else you're tethered to. It's a cooperative platformer where timing and communication are everything. From the moment you start, it's clear this isn't just a push-the-button, jump-over-obstacles type of game. You really have to think about every step. Whether you're in solo mode or playing with up to 3 friends, the challenge is to move as a unit, making sure you don't trip over each other's movements, or worse, drag everyone into a deadly trap. The levels are clever, always offering something new to test your coordination skills. You'll find yourself constantly thinking, can I make this jump, or do I need to wait for my partner to get into position? And trust me, it gets a lot harder than you think, which is where the fun really kicks in. And the best part? Power-ups. Who doesn't love a good power-up? You'll find these wings scattered throughout the game, and they're like little safety nets that let you recover from some of the more brutal falls. But don't get too comfortable, because while these power-ups help, they don't exactly make things easy. The lava rises constantly, and the timer is always there to keep you on your toes. Unknown 9. Awakening. It kicks off with players stepping into the shoes of Haruna, a character who's all about unlocking the mysteries of a hidden dimension. You'll navigate through unique challenges using a cool set of abilities, like stepping, where you can take control of enemies and use their strengths to your advantage. It's like a puzzle that keeps you on your toes, strategizing and using what's around you to move forward. One of the standout features here is the emphasis on stealth and smart decision-making. Instead of just running into combat, you'll find yourself using the environment to hide or trick enemies, making the gameplay feel a bit more tactical than usual. The mechanic of possessing enemies to gain their abilities adds a lot of flavor. There's this sense of creativity where you're not just fighting, but finding clever ways to outsmart everyone, which keeps things fresh. It's not all action, though. There are plenty of moments where you need to really think about how to solve puzzles, and that blend of action and strategy keeps you engaged without getting overwhelmed. Another cool thing is how the game integrates with its transmedia universe. You get hints of a larger world that makes you want to dive deeper into what's happening outside the game itself. If you're someone who enjoys games with a bit of extra lore or history, you'll definitely appreciate the world building here. It's more than just the gameplay. It's about feeling like you're part of a bigger story, even if you're just focusing on Haruna's journey. Ever wish you could solve crimes with the help of supernatural beings? The Thaumaturge gives you just that, with a twist. You're not only playing as a detective in early 20th century Warsaw, but you've got the power to summon entities that represent human flaws. Yeah, you heard that right. These aren't your average sidekicks. They embody the things we all try to avoid, like greed or guilt, and they're there to help you in both battle and conversation. It's pretty unique, and honestly, it makes you think about morality in a whole new way. What's really cool about the game is how the Saluters, those supernatural entities, aren't just for fighting. Sure, they'll help you out in combat with some pretty tactical moves, but they also play a part in how you interact with other characters. The choices you make while talking to people can actually affect how your entities influence the world. You're always weighing the consequences, which adds some fun tension to even the smallest conversations. It's like having a team of emotional support creatures that can give you the upper hand in tricky situations. Then, of course, there's the setting. Warsaw in 1905, during a time of real political unrest. It's like walking through a world where history and fantasy collide, but it never feels forced. You're constantly digging into mysteries, piecing together clues, and using your special powers to see things other people can't. It's not all about brute force either. There's a lot of thought and strategy involved in how you approach the challenges. Imagine playing a game where you're looking through a body camera and every move you make feels like you're right there in the thick of it. The tension of tactical decisions, the pressure of every turn, it's a whole new experience that makes you feel like you're in a real-life action movie. That's the vibe you get with Unrecord. It's a first-person shooter with a twist. What really sets it apart is the body camera perspective. You're not just playing from a traditional FPS view, you're seeing everything through the lens of a police officer's body cam. This adds a level of realism that most games don't even come close to. Every move you make, every room you enter, feels like it's happening in real life. It's not just about shooting, it's about thinking on your feet, making tactical decisions, and staying calm under pressure. It's a fresh take on the genre, and it brings something new to the table. The gameplay isn't just about running and gunning either. It's about strategy. You have to think about the environment, plan your approach, and engage with the world in a way that feels deliberate. That body camera isn't just a cool gimmick, it's a game changer. You feel like you're actually in these intense situations, and it makes every choice feel meaningful. It's like you're not just playing a game, you're living out a mission. And then there's the overall atmosphere. With everything being so focused on realism, the game creates a world that feels like it could happen tomorrow. There's no over-the-top action or flashy explosions. It's grounded, tactical, and immersive in a way that few other games manage. Pacific Drive. This one kicks off with you behind the wheel in the middle of absolute chaos. And somehow, that's exactly where the fun starts. There's something so strangely satisfying about managing a car that's constantly on the verge of falling apart, while also trying not to get swallowed by some bizarre anomaly just around the corner. It's part road trip, part survival mission, and entirely unpredictable in the best way possible. You're not just driving around, you're surviving with style. Every trip out into the zone is like rolling the dice, and the gamble keeps things exciting. One moment, you're picking up scraps and duct taping your car back together, and the next, you're peeling out of a danger zone with half a bumper and your windows cracked to hell. There's this push-pull dynamic where you were always thinking about how far you can go, what you can grab, and if your ride will hold up just long enough to get you back to base. What really sells it is how the car isn't just a vehicle, it's the star of the show. Customizing it isn't just about making it look cool, it's about adapting. Throw on some armor, jam a few makeshift gadgets onto the hood, and hope like hell it all stays bolted together. And when it works, when all those duct-taped upgrades hold and you come out the other side with a trunk full of loot and your car still kicking, it feels amazing. There's a rhythm to it all. Gear up, head out, face the unknown, then hightail it back to safety. Let's dive into something that's a little bit different from the usual, with a game where you get to play as a giant rage-fueled werewolf fighting to protect the Earth. Sounds fun, right? You get to be this super-powered creature who can shift between human, wolf, and full-on werewolf forms, each with its own unique way of handling situations. It's got this satisfying mix of stealth, power, and brawling, so you're always figuring out how to approach a challenge. In Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood, you spend a lot of time in your Krynos form, which is basically the werewolf powerhouse. And let me tell you, when you're tearing through enemies with claw slashes and massive strikes, it feels really satisfying. You've got this full range of brutal abilities to upgrade as you go, making each fight feel more intense as you progress. But the cool part is you're not just smashing everything in sight. There's some clever stealth elements too, especially when you're in your wolf form. You can sneak through areas, avoid detection, and surprise enemies from behind. That's where the game does a pretty good job mixing up the gameplay. What I really dig is the shape-shifting aspect, going from human to wolf to werewolf, and having to use each form for different situations keeps you on your toes. It's not just about brute force, it's about using your environment and making smart choices. As you level up, you unlock more moves and abilities that let you really mess things up in combat, giving you a sense of growth throughout the game. Nothing beats the creepy thrill of walking into a place that feels like it's watching you back. And that's exactly the kind of vibe waiting inside the Dark Pictures anthology, The Devil in Me. From the second you step into that twisted hotel, every hallway feels like it's got a mind of its own, shifting and hiding dangers like it's part of some giant deadly puzzle just waiting to mess with you. The Devil in Me does a great job shaking up the usual formula too. For once, it's not just about walking and choosing what to say. Characters actually get to move around with some freedom this time. Climbing, jumping, and even shuffling along ledges, which makes the whole thing feel more like you're surviving rather than just watching stuff happen. There's something oddly satisfying about figuring out which path will keep your unlucky group alive, or at least out of the nearest trap. One of the real standout touches is the little gear each character carries around. Everyone's got their own tool, and the way you use these tools can totally change the way certain moments play out. Whether it's using a camera to light your path or some other piece of equipment to solve a problem, there's more to do than just pressing the same button over and over. And that's such a fun step up from the earlier games. It also sneaks in some classic, almost escape room style puzzles along the way. Flicking switches, connecting wires, decoding things. These little challenges pop up often enough to make sure the game keeps you on your toes instead of just sprinting from one scare to the next. Rise of the Ronin. The game lets you jump into a period of political chaos and cultural change, giving you the reins of a customizable protagonist ready to shape the future. And let me tell you, there's plenty to do once you step into this massive, open world. The gameplay is all about choice, skill, and fluid combat. You're not just hacking away mindlessly at enemies. Every fight feels strategic with its deep combat mechanics. Whether you're slicing through foes with a katana or using ranged weapons, every move counts. It's fast-paced, but also rewards you for staying sharp and thoughtful, especially with the deflect mechanic that'll have you dodging and parrying like a pro. The game doesn't hold your hand, so if you want to master the combat, it's all on you. Exploration? Absolutely fantastic. You get to roam around cities, villages, and vast rural landscapes. The game makes the most of its open world, with each location feeling alive and offering plenty of activities to discover. You can't help but dive into side missions, gathering supplies, or helping out NPCs along the way. Whether you're on horseback, using a grappling hook, or gliding across the terrain, moving around is smooth and satisfying. And trust me, the world feels like it has depth. Every corner holds something new. The character customization is another highlight. You get to design your character exactly how you want, from their appearance to their abilities, making the experience personal and unique. There's something weirdly fascinating about games that just throw you straight into the deep end with zero hand-holding, and that's exactly the vibe you get when you start wandering through agony. One moment you're standing there, no clue what's going on, and the next you're trying to figure out how to survive in the most brutal and bizarre place imaginable. What really makes it stand out is how it doesn't settle for your typical run-and-hide horror formula. It adds this cool possession system where you can jump into other creatures' bodies. It's such a smart twist, especially when you start realizing that sometimes the only way forward is by thinking more like a predator than prey. Some paths are completely out of reach unless you switch bodies, and that alone can lead to these little moments where the game flips your expectations on their head. And navigating the world isn't just about sneaking around and hoping you don't get spotted. Every corner is packed with strange puzzles and environmental tricks. Half the fun is stopping to figure out what the heck you're actually supposed to do in these grotesque spaces. It's one of those games that loves making you slow down and really look at your surroundings, even when everything around you looks like it's built to give you nightmares. The way danger works here is also pretty clever. Getting caught doesn't always mean an instant game over, which is refreshing. There's this extra little safety net baked in, but it comes with a catch. You can possess other souls if you move fast enough, which leads to these desperate, heart-pounding moments. Metal Hellsinger brings together two things you wouldn't usually think go hand in hand, rhythm and shooting. But somehow, this game nails it. It's like being inside a heavy metal music video, but instead of just headbanging, you're mowing down demons to the beat. If you love intense action and feel the groove of a good track, this is your new jam. The gameplay is all about timing your attacks with the rhythm of the music. You won't just be pulling the trigger at random, you've got to feel the beat. Hit it right, and you're dealing extra damage. Mess it up, and it's game over. It's a satisfying challenge, especially when you get into that flow where every shot and move feels perfectly synced with the pounding music in the background. Your weapon choices are varied, from shotguns to crossbows, giving you a ton of ways to keep your combat fresh. There's always something new to try, and each weapon feels like it has a purpose. Then, there's the Fury meter. This little guy is your best friend. As you hit notes and make quick fluid moves to the beat, you crank that Fury meter up, and when it hits max, you get to unleash some seriously powerful attacks. It's a real rush when you're at full fury, tearing through enemies while the track amps up. It's hard not to get sucked into the rhythm once you got it down. What makes the game even better is how it keeps you on your toes. Every level ramps up the intensity, with different bosses that are both challenging and rewarding to fight. Sneaking around dark corners and slipping past orcs without making a sound is the kind of tension that keeps your hands locked tight on the controller. The entire setup leans into the sneaky, quiet kind of adventure where staying hidden is more important than charging into trouble. That's what makes the Lord of the Rings Gollum stand out. It's all about moving carefully, watching enemy patrols, and finding just the right moment to slip by unnoticed. The way each area is designed makes you pay attention to every little detail. 1 second you're crawling under a rusted pipe to avoid a patrolling guard. The next, you're perched on a ledge looking for the safest way across a courtyard full of trouble. Even when the coast looks clear, the game loves to remind you that danger can show up from unexpected places, especially when you get a little too comfortable. The platforming sections always throw in just enough challenge to make you stop and think about your next jump. It's not about flashy moves or speed runs, it's more about timing, reading the environment, and trusting that one last risky leap to get you out of a tight spot. Moving around feels deliberate, and the game definitely rewards being slow and steady over rushing forward. One thing that's hard to miss is the constant tug-of-war between decisions. You're not just sneaking and climbing your way around, you're also faced with moments where two completely different sides of the same character argue over what should happen next. Nothing beats the thrill of charging into a brawl with a hammer-swinging dwarf on one side and a dual-wielding ranger flipping around on the other, all while the air is thick with chaos and loot waiting to be snatched. That's exactly the kind of vibe you get when stepping into Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance, where the action feels like a wild fantasy brawl rather than a slow, careful adventure. One thing that stands out straight away is how each character actually feels like they belong to their own little corner of the fighting world. Bruenor's got this meaty, shield-heavy style where you can almost feel the weight behind every block, while Wolfgar's giant hammer makes his attacks feel like you're trying to knock the mountains off the map. Drizzt zips around like a blade-wielding whirlwind, and Catti Brie gives you that pure ranged finesse that turns incoming trouble into distant history before it even gets close. The missions in this game are built to get your adrenaline up, always throwing you into new enemy arrangements and sneaky traps just when you think you've got it all figured out. And there's this clever little camp system they drop in the middle of your run where you've got to choose between banking your progress or risking it all for even better rewards. It's one of those choices that makes the whole loot chase even more addictive, especially if you're the type to gamble for the shiny stuff. What's fun is how the entire combat loop always invites you to mess around with timing and combos. It's not just about spamming attacks and hoping for the best. Beyond good and evil. The universe in this game feels alive, like you've stepped into a living, breathing space where everything has its own story to tell. It's not just about exploring vast planets or getting into wild space fights. It's about the freedom to carve your own path through a world that reacts to your choices. You're not just another wanderer in space, you're a part of a much bigger, ever-evolving narrative, where every decision feels impactful. What really stands out here is the sheer scope of it all. Whether you're navigating through dense jungles, dodging space debris, or engaging in intense firefights with enemies, it never feels like the world is static. It's dynamic and always changing, which is super exciting when you're playing. The ability to hop from planet to planet, each with its own distinct vibe, makes every journey feel fresh. And let's not forget about the co-op multiplayer. It's a blast to team up with friends, especially when you have to tackle massive missions together. There's something inherently fun about working alongside others to take down a giant boss or just having each other's backs during tough moments. The customization options are fantastic. From the gear you equip to the characters you design, there's a ton of ways to make your playstyle truly your own. Want to be the stealthy, tech-savvy type? Go for it. Prefer charging and guns blazing? That's there too. It all feels fluid, and nothing locks you into one playstyle, which is awesome if you're someone who likes to experiment or change things up on the fly. Shattered Tale of the Forgotten King kicks off with you stepping into the boots of a mysterious wanderer in a world that's fallen apart. It's one of those games where you're constantly piecing things together, trying to figure out what went wrong and what happens next. There's something about wandering through a broken world, filled with secrets and dangers at every turn, that's just so satisfying. It's not just about hacking and slashing, it's about the thrill of exploration and discovery. The game mixes in some classic Souls-like combat with a little bit of platforming for good measure. Think of it as a combination of sword fighting and magic that feels both strategic and dynamic. You're not just smashing buttons here, there's a bit of finesse involved. The harden mechanic is a clever little twist, letting you turn into stone to tank damage, making for some pretty exciting moments when you're in the thick of it. It's like a tactical pause in the middle of chaos that can really turn the tide in your favor. What really stands out is the sense of freedom you get while exploring. The world is massive and interconnected, which means you're constantly stumbling upon new areas, unlocking hidden routes, and discovering cool secrets. The game's semi-open world design invites you to dig deep, offering a balance between exploring at your own pace and rushing through areas to unlock the next challenge. Every time you venture out, you never know what's around the corner. Imagine stepping into a world where every move feels like you're in the middle of a classic samurai film. With sharp swordplay, tense moments, and a visually striking style, it's easy to get hooked. This is exactly what Trek to Yomi brings to the table. It's like playing a game where each battle and each move feels cinematic, as if you're the lead in an old-school Japanese action film. What really makes this game stand out is how it captures the essence of those classic samurai flicks. It's got that side-scrolling perspective that gives you a bird's-eye view of all the action, but it's the combat that really gets your blood pumping. You'll be swinging swords, blocking and parrying like a true samurai, facing off against some really memorable enemies. It's simple enough to pick up quickly, but it's got that sweet spot where timing and precision matter. Getting that perfect block, then countering with a heavy strike feels so satisfying. The combat is straightforward, but what's cool is how much it relies on you being quick on your feet and knowing when to strike. It's not about spamming moves, it's about being precise and keeping your wits about you. You'll find yourself getting into a rhythm, fighting wave after wave of enemies, each encounter feeling different. One of the best parts is how you're not just fighting human foes, but supernatural enemies as well, which keeps things interesting. The game does a great job keeping you engaged without overwhelming you with complexity. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle really knows how to make adventure feel like the main event. There's just something so satisfying about slipping on the boots of a character who doesn't need superpowers or fancy tech to handle trouble. Just a whip, some sharp instincts, and a knack for getting into situations that escalate faster than you can blink. The game really hits that sweet spot between old-school action charm and modern-day polish, with every corner of its world begging to be explored and every encounter nudging you to think on your feet. There's a special kind of fun in juggling stealth one moment and throwing down the next, especially when every situation seems to have a couple of different ways to handle it. The way everything flows makes it so easy to lose track of time because there's always something interesting pulling you forward. The whip isn't just for flair either, it's one of those tools that constantly surprises with how much it can actually do. Whether it's in the middle of a fight, or when you're trying to figure out how to cross a tricky gap or trigger something clever. Little details like that keep things lively without the game ever feeling repetitive or predictable. One of the best parts is how the environments themselves feel like puzzles just waiting for the right approach. You don't need to be a master code breaker, but the way the game encourages observation and curiosity makes every solved puzzle feel pretty rewarding. It never leans too hard on hand-holding, which only adds to the feeling of being dropped into the middle of a real adventure. If you're in the mood for a game that could possibly end friendships, well, in the best way possible, this one has got you covered. Imagine a mix of party chaos, hilarious mini-games, and a board game where you're constantly plotting to ruin your friend's chances. It's all about strategy, luck, and of course, sheer chaos. The game throws you into a board game-style setup where you roll dice, collect keys, and try to buy goblets to win. But it's not as easy as it sounds. Every turn is packed with potential for surprises. Want to mess with your buddies? Grab an item like a punching glove and send them flying off course. Or maybe you'd rather throw a remote-controlled eggplant into the mix. The amount of ridiculous items you can use to sabotage each other is honestly one of the best parts. You never know who's going to get hit with a nasty surprise. And that's the fun of it. The real madness happens in the mini-games, though. After each round on the board, you're thrown into a completely different mini-game. Whether you're hopping across moving platforms or hunting down hidden objects, these games keep you on your toes. The randomness means you never get too comfortable. Each game has a chance to flip the tables, making sure no one player can just cruise to victory. What's great about the mini-games is that they're all over the place in terms of style and skill. Some will make you rely on your reflexes, others on strategy, and a few are pure luck. It creates an environment where everyone can have a shot at victory, and that's where the real fun comes from. You know, it's not every day you get to be the hunter and the hunted, especially in a jungle teeming with danger. But in Predator Hunting Grounds, that's exactly the thrill you're in for. Whether you're on the hunt or trying to survive, this game makes you feel every moment of tension, excitement, and sheer panic. Right off the bat, this game throws you into the thick of things. You either get to play as part of an elite 4-person fire team or take control of the iconic Predator. Both roles bring something different to the table. As part of the fire team, your job is all about strategy, teamwork, and completing your mission before you get picked off. You've got an arsenal of weapons, gadgets, and tools, but it's not just about shooting everything that moves. Timing, communication, and sticking together are key if you want to make it out alive. On the flip side, playing as the Predator is an absolute blast. You've got advanced alien technology on your side, thermal vision, cloaking devices, and some seriously deadly weapons. The real fun here is the stealth. You're not just running and guns blazing. It's all about hunting your prey, waiting for the right moment to strike, and using the environment to your advantage. The jungle can feel like your playground, but it's not always easy to stay hidden. The fire team isn't completely defenseless, and they'll do everything they can to track you down too. One of the coolest aspects of Predator Hunting Grounds is the dynamic environment. The Outlast Trials drops you straight into one of those games where the only real plan is to survive. And sometimes, even that feels like wishful thinking. This is one of those titles that loves making you uncomfortable in the best way possible, like it's challenging you to outsmart its horrors rather than outmuscle them. The setup here is all about being sharp, quick, and a little sneaky. Charging in head first isn't on the menu, and that's where the fun begins. It's a constant little dance between staying quiet, keeping calm, and knowing when to make a move. The game throws you into these eerie trial scenarios where the tension never really lets go, and there's always this satisfying rush that comes from narrowly dodging disaster. One of the coolest things is how the game gives you tools to even the odds without turning you into some overpowered hero. Stuff like night vision goggles, distractions, or the ever-important antipsychotics make you feel just clever enough to survive, but never so strong that you stop being on edge. That perfect balance between feeling capable and feeling completely hunted is what keeps every run exciting. And the best part? You don't even have to suffer alone. Teaming up with others makes for a completely different vibe. Sometimes it's pure chaos, sometimes it's tight teamwork, but it's always unpredictable and fun. Everyone gets to bring a special skill to the table, whether that's helping out a friend in trouble, locking down an escape route, or throwing a little smoke into the mix just to shake things up. You ever wonder what it would be like to fight giant monsters, like seriously massive ones, while trying to save humanity? That's exactly what you're diving into right away. The game doesn't hold back. It throws you right into the action with you controlling a lone hero who's on a mission to defend a world under siege by these colossal beasts. Imagine being a skilled warrior with a giant sword, scaling these monstrous titans to take them down, one limb at a time. Yeah, it's pretty intense. This is where you'll be slashing through a world where the fight is on a whole new level. The gameplay is fast-paced, and you're constantly moving. It's not just about swinging your sword, it's all about finding weak spots on these giants and making your moves count. The combat is a mix of quick, responsive attacks with some strategy thrown in as you're taking down these towering foes. You can't just mindlessly attack. You've got to think about your positioning and timing to hit those sweet spots. And let's not forget the environment. As you travel across these battlefields, there's a lot of verticality involved. You'll be jumping, climbing, and wall running as you dodge attacks or close the distance between you and the next giant. The dynamic of the game encourages you to keep moving, always thinking on your feet. There's also a whole bunch of different monsters, each requiring different tactics. Some are fast and tricky to take down, while others are massive, requiring you to carefully plan your approach. Imagine you and your buddies are deep underground, trying to get through an eerie, dark complex, and every move counts. One wrong sound, and everything could go south. That's the vibe of this game. It's all about teamwork, strategy, and a little bit of pure chaos. You and your team are dropped into this grim, claustrophobic world where communication and timing are key. It's a hardcore survival experience where you have to balance the need to stay quiet and sneaky with the harsh reality of limited ammo and tools. You're working together to gather resources, take down enemies, and survive the longest you can in this nightmarish environment. Right off the bat, you'll notice that it's not your typical run-and-gun shooter. It leans heavily on stealth. You can't just rush in and shoot everything you see because that will attract way too many enemies. You've got to use your surroundings, move as a unit, and, most importantly, keep noise to an absolute minimum. One bad decision can set off a whole swarm of enemies, and let me tell you, those things do not hold back. The game throws you into what they call rundowns, which are like mini episodes that change up the challenges, enemies, and objectives. It keeps things fresh and constantly throws you curveballs that require you to rethink your strategy every time you dive back in. No two missions feel the same, and that's one of the things that make it so engaging. But the real fun comes from managing your team. Warframe is a game that throws you into a high-paced, action-packed universe where you become a Tenno, a futuristic warrior decked out in a biomechanical suit known as a Warframe. It's a free-to-play game that delivers a crazy amount of variety, customization, and continuous content updates that keep things fresh long after you dive in. The core of the game is all about fast, fluid combat. Whether you're zipping around with some slick parkour moves or shredding enemies with guns and melee weapons, everything feels smooth and satisfying. What makes it stand out is how customizable your loadout is. There are so many warframes to choose from, each with their own unique abilities. You can mix and match to fit your playstyle, whether you're all about charging in with heavy firepower or supporting your team with healing and buffs. And that's not even the best part. The modding system allows you to tweak everything to suit how you want to play, making every piece of gear feel personal. Missions in the game are diverse, offering you everything from small-scale tactical assignments to massive open-world zones with dynamic events and bounties. You can go solo or team up with up to 3 friends, making it a great pick for anyone who loves co-op play. Each mission feels different thanks to the procedural generation system, which changes up the layout and objectives every time you jump into a new one. The progression system is pretty rewarding too. Imagine a place where you can create anything from a platformer to a short film where the only limit is your imagination. That's the core of Dreams. It's a game, a creation suite, and a community all rolled into one. What makes it stand out is its accessibility. No need to be a coding expert or a 3D artist to bring your ideas to life. You're given the tools to build, sculpt, animate, and even compose music. If you've ever wanted to make your own game, this is your playground. The most exciting thing about Dreams is how it lets you be the creator. If you've ever wanted to try your hand at game design, animation, or even making your own music, you'll find a wealth of possibilities here. The interface might seem overwhelming at first, but once you dive in, it's pretty intuitive. You can literally craft 3D models with your hands, make characters come to life, and create gameplay mechanics as if you were a pro developer. And the best part? You don't need to know how to code. The tools are all there for you, designed to be as user-friendly as possible. Then, there's the Dreamyverse. This is where the real magic happens. It's an endless library of creations uploaded by players like you. You can play through levels, remix someone else's idea, or just get inspired. Whether it's a fully fleshed out game or a quirky little animation, there's always something new to discover. And if you're into collaboration, this is where the fun really kicks in. The Talos Principle 2 takes what made its predecessor so great and cranks everything up a notch. It's not just about solving puzzles this time, it's about diving deep into a world where sentient robots are the ones carrying the weight of human knowledge and culture. You're not just a player in this world, you're a part of its ongoing evolution. The puzzles? They're a mix of brain-bending and satisfying. There's no shortage of tricky mechanics to wrap your head around. We're talking about tools like RGB converters, anti-gravity beams, and hexahedrons that really keep you on your toes. Each new mechanic brings a fresh twist, making you rethink everything you know about puzzle solving. And don't even get me started on the monument puzzles. They're the perfect way to take a break from the main puzzles while uncovering hidden secrets. It's like the game is always offering you something new, even when you think you've seen it all. And let's not forget the sheer fun of exploration. The game world is massive and filled with hidden corners just begging to be discovered. The map expands in ways that keep you wondering what's around the next corner. Every little nook and cranny is packed with something to find, and it's never just for the sake of padding. Everything has a purpose. Plus, the puzzles are so thoughtfully integrated into the world that they almost feel like they're part of the environment itself, rather than something just plopped down for you to solve. The narrative also shines through in ways that are subtle but impactful. Ghost of a Tale. If you're in the mood for a game that feels like you're stepping into a charming little fantasy world, this one's definitely worth checking out. Picture this. You're a tiny mouse, but not just any mouse. You're a minstrel with a whole lot of heart, finding yourself in a big, mysterious castle filled with secrets and dangers. The cool part? Stealth is your main tool, not brute force. It's a world where you're sneaking around, trying to outsmart the threats instead of fighting them head on, and that just makes everything feel so much more immersive. You won't be running around blowing things up or getting into big combat situations here. Instead, it's all about exploration. You're navigating this vast castle, interacting with characters, and piecing together bits of the lore. And the characters, they're full of personality. From the helpful allies to the grumpy foes, everyone has a story, and it makes the world feel alive. The dialogue and environmental storytelling do a fantastic job of making you want to dig deeper and understand the world more. The gameplay is all about thinking on your feet. The environments can get a little tricky to navigate, and stealth becomes your best friend as you slip by enemies or find creative ways to solve problems. What really stands out is how well the game lets you be resourceful. You'll find different outfits that help you blend in, sneak by threats, or just open up new paths to explore. Each new ability or disguise opens up more options for how you approach a situation. Hellpoint takes you to the haunting, mysterious space station, Irid Novo, where things have gone terribly wrong. It's got that dark, gritty sci-fi vibe you know and love, with a lot of that Dark Souls-like difficulty mixed in, making it feel like you're really in for a challenge. You play as a Spawn, trying to figure out what went down in this derelict space station, and trust me, the ride isn't going to be easy. The gameplay is all about those tense, methodical fights. You'll need to be quick on your feet, balancing attacks with dodging and carefully managing your stamina. It's all about timing. Attack too much and you'll be left vulnerable. Leave a gap and your enemy might just get the drop on you. But it's that trial and error that gets you hooked. You'll learn enemy patterns, adjust, and feel that rush when you finally come out on top. Exploration is key here, and it's not just about running from point A to point B. The space station is huge, with hidden nooks and crannies, secret items, and environmental puzzles. You'll find yourself backtracking, uncovering more as you go along, which adds that just one more thing feel. Plus, the station orbits a black hole, which messes with gravity and creates some pretty wild combat dynamics. Every corner feels unpredictable, and it's part of what makes exploring the place so exciting. Then there's the multiplayer aspect. Whether you're teaming up with friends for some co-op fun or invading someone else's world, it adds a little extra twist. The Outlast Trials drops you straight into one of those games where the only real plan is to survive. And sometimes, even that feels like wishful thinking. This is one of those titles that loves making you uncomfortable in the best way possible, like it's challenging you to outsmart its horrors rather than outmuscle them. The setup here is all about being sharp, quick, and a little sneaky. Charging in head first isn't on the menu, and that's where the fun begins. It's a constant little dance between staying quiet, keeping calm, and knowing when to make a move. The game throws you into these eerie trial scenarios where the tension never really lets go, and there's always this satisfying rush that comes from narrowly dodging disaster. One of the coolest things is how the game gives you tools to even the odds without turning you into some overpowered hero. Stuff like night vision goggles, distractions, or the ever-important antipsychotics make you feel just clever enough to survive, but never so strong that you stop being on edge. That perfect balance between feeling capable and feeling completely hunted is what keeps every run exciting. And the best part? You don't even have to suffer alone. Teaming up with others makes for a completely different vibe. Sometimes it's pure chaos, sometimes it's tight teamwork, but it's always unpredictable and fun. Everyone gets to bring a special skill to the table, whether that's helping out a friend in trouble, locking down an escape route, or throwing a little smoke into the mix just to shake things up. Sons of the Forest. This one drops you into the wild with nothing but your instincts, a few supplies, and a whole lot of questions. It's pure chaos and creativity, with a sandbox full of trees to chop, gear to craft, and freaky things lurking in the woods. It's got that perfect blend of calm and oh-no energy that keeps every session feeling unpredictable in the best way. There's something super satisfying about building stuff here. You're not just clicking buttons, you're physically placing logs, snapping together walls, and shaping shelters that feel like your own little corner of safety. Whether it's a simple hut by the lake or a full-blown fortress on the hill, it all feels hand-built and earned. Then there's the survival element that doesn't feel punishing, just engaging. Managing hunger and health keeps things interesting without dragging everything down. It pushes you to explore, to find better resources, and to always stay a step ahead of whatever's creeping out there. That balance really works. It feels fair without ever being too easy. Companions in this one are something else. They don't just follow you around, they're actually helpful. One of them can't talk, but still ends up being a clutch ally. And another with some pretty unique traits turns out to be a wild card in the best way. They both make the whole experience feel less lonely, especially when things get tense. Multiplayer turns the whole thing up a notch. Ever wonder what it would be like to wield all kinds of magic in one hand and blast through enemies with spells instead of guns? In Immortals of Avium, that's exactly what you're doing. This game takes the first-person shooter to a whole new level. Imagine casting powerful spells instead of pulling a trigger. It's kind of like being in a high-speed magic duel, but with the firepower of a whole army at your fingertips. One of the coolest things here is the magic system. You're not just throwing out random fireballs or basic spells. You've got red, blue, and green magic at your disposal, each with its own vibe. Red's about pure destruction, dealing massive damage, while blue's more tactical, allowing you to focus on precision and control. Green magic? That's your speed, letting you move faster and dodge attacks like a pro. Switching between them isn't just for style. It's about strategy. You'll need to figure out which magic works best for each fight, and that's where the fun really kicks in. The combat is smooth and fast-paced, kind of like if someone took a shooter and turned it into a spell-slinging spectacle. You're constantly on the move, dodging and weaving through enemies while unleashing spell combos that look as cool as they feel. The game's talent tree is pretty deep too, giving you the chance to unlock new abilities and customize how you want to approach every fight. Do you want to focus on raw offensive power or build up your defenses? The choice is yours, and it keeps the gameplay fresh as you progress. Squirrel with a Gun is one of those games that just makes you stop and think, wait, what? It's quirky, it's funny, and it's packed with chaos. You play as a squirrel, but not just any squirrel. This little guy has the smarts of a genius and, yes, a gun. It's like a dream come true for anyone who's ever wanted to live out the fantasy of a small, fluffy creature causing mayhem in a suburban neighborhood. And trust me, there's plenty of mayhem to go around. The whole setup is wild. You're not just running around collecting nuts. No, this squirrel's got bigger problems. With a gun in hand, you'll be using it for everything from self-defense to creative puzzle solving. The game's sandbox world is open to explore, and you can approach it however you want. Whether you're taking down enemies or using recoil from your weapons to propel yourself to hard-to-reach spots, it's about thinking outside the box, or the acorn, if you will. One of the coolest aspects is how weapons are incorporated into the gameplay. It's not just about shooting at bad guys, although that's definitely fun. The game lets you use your arsenal in inventive ways. Want to get across a gap? Shoot at something to send yourself flying. There's a lot of creativity packed into the combat, and you'll find yourself using your weapons in ways you might not have expected at first. But it's not just about action. The world around you is rich with things to interact with. The neighborhood feels alive with plenty of quirky side activities and opportunities for exploration. Flintlock. The Siege of Dawn is a blast from start to finish, mixing up all the things we love about action-packed games into one wild ride. From swinging an axe to firing flintlock pistols and throwing in some magic on the side, the combat feels like a playground for anyone who loves being in the thick of the action. There's a real rhythm to the fights, where you can go from chopping down enemies with your axe to shooting them from a distance, all while getting help from your trusty companion Enki, who's more than just an extra character. They really add something special to the whole combat dynamic. One of the coolest things about the game is how it balances melee and ranged combat, giving you freedom to mix up your attacks. The fluidity makes it feel like you're always in control, no matter if you're brawling up close or picking enemies off from afar. Enki, your magical sidekick, does a great job of keeping things fresh, adding an extra layer of strategy. Whether it's stunning an enemy so you can land that perfect hit or giving you a little extra boost during a tough fight, they're never just hanging around. Exploration in this game is another major highlight. The world is wide open and packed with secrets. You get the chance to explore a bunch of different regions, each offering its own set of challenges. There are side quests that pull you into the action even more. So it's not just about charging through the main story. You get to interact with NPCs, gather materials, and unlock cool gear that helps make your journey feel even more rewarding. Nobody Wants to Die drops you straight into a world where immortality is just a subscription away, but it's not all shiny and perfect. In this gritty, futuristic New York, technology has made life a bit too complicated. You step into the shoes of Detective James Cara, who works in the mortality department. Yes, that's a real job in this world. His latest case? A murder mystery with a twist that's as much about life and death as it is about figuring out who's pulling the strings behind the scenes. The game's vibe is totally immersive, blending the atmosphere of old-school noir detective stories with a techie, dystopian future. You're not just walking around solving puzzles, you're using futuristic tools to piece together crime scenes like a high-tech Sherlock Holmes. One of the cool features is the Reconstructor, which lets you see past events and crime scenes to get a clearer picture of what went down. It's like stepping into the past and replaying the key moments to catch the hidden details. And it's not just about solving crimes. The conversations you have with characters play a huge role in how things unfold. Your choices matter, and how you interact with the people around you can shift the story's direction. It's one of those games that makes you feel like you're crafting the story with every decision you make. Every time you engage in a chat, you're shaping how the narrative evolves. Empire of the Ants. Now this one is such a neat surprise. You're running around as an ant, but not in a goofy or over-the-top way. This game actually makes that idea feel smart, strategic, and surprisingly intense. It blends real-time strategy with some unexpected mechanics like third-person adventure and even platforming. Not something you hear every day when it comes to the genre, but it works. There's something cool about commanding your colony while also being right in the middle of the action. Sprinting through giant blades of grass, jumping across twigs, and managing your tiny army from the front lines hits different. It doesn't throw you into super complex systems, but still gives you enough to chew on. Balancing resource gathering, defending your territory, and planning out tactical attacks all feel rewarding without turning into a full-blown micromanagement headache. The multiplayer side of things deserves a nod, too. Teaming up with friends or facing off against AI with cross-platform support makes the whole experience feel alive. It's fast, strategic, and chaotic in the best way. Having up to 3 players in one match keeps it tight without becoming a total mess. Even the little moments hit nicely. One mission might have you coordinating a big battle, and the next could be something more personal and hands-on, like capturing fireflies. These breaks from the usual strategy rhythm keep things from feeling repetitive, adding variety that keeps each level interesting. Imagine piloting a massive war machine, crushing everything in your path while dealing with complex tactics, customization, and squad management. The game throws you into a world of high-tech combat where every decision counts and the stakes are massive. This isn't just another mech game. This one gives you a whole new perspective, focusing on the clan invasion of the Inner Sphere and the thrill of commanding your mechs through intense battles. The coolest part about the whole experience is the insane amount of customization. It's not just about choosing which weapons to equip. You're customizing every little detail of your mech with the Omnipod system, which gives you options for weapons and upgrades that really affect how you approach each mission. Every battle is like a puzzle, where you've got to pick the right tools and the right mechs for the job. It's all about experimenting with different configurations, switching out gear, and finding that perfect loadout that gives you an edge on the battlefield. What makes combat even better is how dynamic the environments are. You're not just fighting in static arenas. These battles take place across a variety of terrains, from dusty deserts to lush forests, with destructible environments that make every skirmish feel real, and the sound of your mech stomping through the ground, blasting enemies into the air, just feels so satisfying. It's the kind of thing that makes you feel like a true force of nature. Squad management plays a big role too. One of the coolest things about this game is how it finally lets you run wild without sticking you on rails every second. There's something really satisfying about boosting through wide open fields, chaining jumps, grinding rails, and pulling off little parkour moves all in the same flow. That's what makes Sonic Frontiers feel so fresh compared to the older titles. The freedom to actually use speed the way it's meant to be used. The moment you land on these massive islands, the game just starts tossing little challenges at you from every direction. Some are quick puzzles tucked right into the landscape. Others are these bite-sized platforming runs where you'll zip through loops, wall run across broken towers, and hit all kinds of springboards before you even know what's happening. It's wild how much stuff is packed into every corner, and the best part is there's no big checklist nagging at you. You're just messing around, moving fast, and new things keep popping up. The combat caught me off guard too. You'd expect a game like this to stick to basic jumps and spins, but no, there's a full-on moveset to unlock. Once you start stringing together combos, air juggling enemies, and pulling off that slick salute ability, the battles stop feeling like side tasks and start feeling like their own little highlight moments. There's even an upgrade system baked in, so the more you explore and fight, the more new tricks you unlock. Then there's these special stages hidden across the world where everything shifts into a much more old-school vibe.